Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Now, guess what's happening today? Today, we are talking about Batman. But we're talking about a comic book series that, well, by golly, we had to save it for the podcast. So, with that being said, welcome today to Two Geeks and a Microphone. Well, hello there.
So who talks first? You talk first. I talk first.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Hello, I am your co host, Mr. Stephen Boster, along with the one, the only Mr. Michael Shanks.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in Geekdom land. I'm getting notifications that we're having problems again with Facebook. I don't know what's going on.
I know, it's pretty crazy. So, hey, everybody, tell you what, welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here with us today because we are talking about a comic book series that Mike is like, you got to read it, Stephen, you got to read it. So I was like, okay. Well, let me tell you, the adventure that we had was doing the new Batman One Bad Day. I have to be careful there, so because you may hear me say one fine day, and that's not what I mean.
That's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, needless to say, it has been interesting as we go through this series. And so just those of you guys that don't know, there are currently 8 issues out on a series that comes out about Batman One Bad Day, where it's him with a different villain, I guess each issue. I almost said each episode kind of a thing. So
That's okay.
right. So I'm looking forward to this, everybody. We have not talked before, or we really wanted to save it for the podcast, and so we haven't talked any about what our thoughts are on it. But there's currently 8 villains, 8 issues that we talk about, and
You go on Facebook.
and so we're going to have more of a discussion today about all that, and I'm pretty excited to get Mike's thoughts and that kind of a thing. So anyway, Mike, do we have anything on for our Geekdar?
I have a couple things for Geekdar. I apologize if I'm distracted. We get notifications that we're not going out on Facebook again. I don't know what's going on. I changed my password earlier, and anyway, it's frustrating. So, with that said, let's get into more fun things and let's talk some Geekdar.
Control with the radar, sir.
What's wrong with it?
I've lost the bleeps, I've lost the sweeps, and I've lost the creeps.
The what? The what? And the what?
You know, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps.
It's not all he's lost.
So I have a couple things on my Geekdar, comic book related. It looks like this is a comic book day. What a good day. So my first one last week, we happened to go into fantasy books, and I'm looking over the comic book wall, and I happened to see this comic book right here.
Teen Titans.
It's the Teen Titans. It's World's Finest Teen Titans, and it's the original Teen Titans.
Ooh.
So we're talking Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, not the Flash, Speedy, Aqualad, Robin, and Bumblebee, which Bumblebee, I don't remember being in the original OG Teen Titans. So, but anyway, World Finest is apparently a thing they're doing in DC Comics right now, where they're doing like these short runs with the World's Finest title on it. And Teen Titans was one of the newest ones that they did. So this is almost like a retelling of the original Teen Titans, but kind of in today's timeline,
Oh,
so
okay.
like Speedy keeps live streaming their fights and stuff like that, and Robin's being all pissed off at him and everything. So it really has a feel of the original Teen Titans, but in today's time. So it's interesting. I don't know how it fits in the timeline. I don't know if it's like supposed to be on a different, Earth or whatever. But honestly,
Right.
I don't care. It's the original line of Teen Titans, and it's fun. So I think it's a 5-issue series. I might kind of do a report after all 5 of them are out.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, let you know what it's like. But so far, I'm enjoying it. It's fun. Batman's kind of being a killjoy in it, like he usually is, to the Titans. But yeah, it was fun. So then my second Geekdar, if I can get it to work, because I'm having problems with my monitor. I'm having all kinds of technical issues today. Anyway, second Geekdar is comic book related also. I recently resubscribed to Marvel Unlimited, so I've been really geeking out on Marvel lately, and I decided I was going to pick out a line that I was going to start reading, from beginning to end. And the title Superior Spider-Man came up a couple weeks ago for me, and I was like, I want to check this out. And so if you don't know about Superior Spider-Man, what it is Doc Ock basically takes over Spider-Man's body, and he becomes Peter Parker. And Peter Parker is in Doc's body, and he dies. So Peter Parker dies, and Doc Ock becomes the Spider-Man. And he makes a vow to Peter Parker that he is going to be a hero, but not only is he going to be a hero, that he will be a superior Spider-Man. So I read the first 2 issues, and then I was like, wait a minute, I got to figure out how in the world this happens. So I found out that if you go back to the Amazing Spider-Man issues 698 through 700, and I think they ended the Amazing Spider-Man. They may have restarted it since then, but they ended it with 700. That's where the transformation happens that Doc Ock gets into Spider-Man. So that's what I'm reading. So far, I'm really enjoying it. Doc is super interesting as the Spider-Man. He does things so much different than what Peter would. He's like this total jerk, I mean, he's being like a total jerk to MJ and stuff, but at the same time, he's trying to win MJ back because they like separated just before this whole transformation happened, so she has no idea what's going on. Nobody does really, and then you got like Peter's ghost kind of following Doc Ock around and critiquing everything he does, So it's really, really interesting. I think it went on for 2 years. So the series is pretty old. I mean, it's like a 10-year-old series, but yeah, I like it. It's fun. So
cool.
That's
awesome.
my
all right. Well, for me, so last weekend, as soon as we finished the podcast, we left to go camping, sort of. Well, we went to Chico Hot Springs. So we went to Hot Springs, and we stayed there overnight, but we stayed like in this little wagon cabin. So we were outside.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we reserved it like a year ago, kind of a thing. So
wow.
Yeah. So it was on the way there. Kelly introduced me to a podcast, and Kelly my wife is really big into true crime. And so the podcast name was called Scamanda. And it's about this true story about this lady named Amanda Riley, who faked having cancer in order to get money from people. Like she would go to her church and her friends. And here's the thing: she had a blog, and she chronicled the entire story on her blog. You know, pictures, posts. Here's what's happening next. Here's what we're going through. But all the while, it's 100% fiction. But she did it, and so it's the story of an investigative reporter coming in. That investigative reporter then started working, I think, with the person who ran the podcast, and or who's producing the podcast, and then it goes all the way to well, I don't want to spoil too much, but it brings it up to today, or kind of a thing of what's been going on with the story and stuff, and IRS gets involved, and I mean just all this stuff. But how many people she lied to, how many people gave money, and I mean it was just crazy. In their church, convincing people at church that
what a scumbag. Sick.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, everyone's like, what, and, but it's 8 episodes. They range from like 38 minutes to an hour and a half. I mean, there's not a consistent thing. They're just, each one tells a story or part of the story. But then they find out that she has faked it before. Like, I mean, so
this wasn't her first time.
It was not her first time. Oh yeah, then the cancer would come back. It would go away, then come back, and then she gets pregnant, and like, I'm pregnant, and then the pregnancy is fighting off the cancer. I
don't think it works that way.
I don't think it works that way either. But anyway, so
I'm not a doctor, and I don't play one on
TV. Yeah, so
I don't think it works like that.
The production is well done. There's like music, and they have actors who, pretend to be different people in the story to read blog posts and notes and stuff.
So it's more like an audio book than
it's an audio documentary. It's an audio documentary, but it's really good. It was really good. And I finally finished it while I was I just finally finished it. And then because we listened to it on the way there to Chico, then back, and then I've been trying to find time this whole week to try to finish it, and I finally had a break in time while I was doing some work, and I thought, oh, good, I can actually take some time to do this. So it was really good. It was well worth it. So Scamanda, I listened to it on Spotify, but it's on any platform that has podcasts and stuff, and so it's pretty. It was very, very interesting. And other than that, the only thing I have on my Geekdar is we got a couple more small trailers on Ahsoka coming out. And even Rosario Dawson comes out and says, hey, I've only got 30 seconds to tell you about Ahsoka.
Oh, I posted that to our Facebook this morning, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
I saw that one this morning, and I was like, oh, I'm sharing this. And yeah, that was really fun. That was fun. Yeah. So if you go on our Facebook, you can actually see that one.
Right on. Oh, good. There was one that was called Jedi. Was it Jedi? But it talked about Jedi and stuff, and that was a good spot too, TV spot or trailer spot or however. But that was a good one. I enjoyed that one, so I'm looking forward to Ahsoka. I really am.
Oh, me too. Well, we'll be covering it here, so they're probably going really heavy on those right now, considering with the actors and the writers on strike, and the actors are not allowed to promote or talk about any upcoming work or anything, so Rosario Dawson can't come out and really speak about it. So that's why I figured they put out that whole 30-second thing. I'm sure that was filmed before the strike, otherwise she'd be in trouble with them, so yeah, that's probably why this is really, really being pushed into heavy, because she can't do the whole interview thing, and go on all the talk shows and all that stuff,
right?
Normally be doing heavily in this time. So
yeah,
but yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Got my Ahsoka action figure here already.
Nice.
Of course, that's the one from Clone Wars, I think. think it was Clone Wars. I don't have a new one for the new series yet.
Oh, sure. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna have something coming. That's true.
Oh, they do. It's coming. It's coming. I just haven't got it. All right. We ready for the main event?
Sounds good to me.
All right, let's move into this.
It's time for the main event. Da-da-da. Here we go, everybody. All right. So, Mike, tell me a story. How did you come across this comic book series, the Batman One Fine Day? Or I did it. One Bad Day.
You sure did. You said it. You said it. It's One Bad Day. I don't know how you messed that up, but anyway.
Right.
Actually, a few weeks ago, right? A few weeks ago, I got an email from Barnes and Noble bookstore, because I get notifications from them when new stuff comes out and everything. And apparently DC, Warner Brothers, whoever distributes it, put out a box set of One Bad Day, including all the books of One Bad Day, and they put in The Killing Joke in there, because it's all supposed to be tied. Well, it's supposed to be tied to the theme, because the Joker makes the comment in The Killing Joke, one bad day. And so this is all supposed to be tied around that theme. And we'll discuss whether or not it actually achieves that or not. But anyway, I saw the box set, and really it was the first time I'd heard about the stories. They're a couple years old. And I was like, well, that sounds really interesting. I mean, I'm a huge fan of The Killing Joke. It's one of my all-time favorite Batman stories. In my opinion, is probably the greatest Batman story ever. Or close to it anyway. Close to it anyway.
It is good.
Yeah, I mean, I put that right up there along with Dark Knight Returns and Death in the Family. Those three are my top three Batman stories. So, I was like, okay, well, this sounds great. And I saw it was on the DC Infinity app, and I said, we should do this. We should do this as an episode. So
now, did you read before? So before you made the decision, had you read any one of the issues?
I had not.
Oh, okay. So you were like, okay, this is going to be a good series. Okay.
I jumped in this feet first and said, yeah, all right, let's do this. So,
all right.
I have no idea your thoughts on it. I have thoughts.
Okay.
I have thoughts both good and bad on it.
All right. So everybody, here we go. We're going to dive in and start. Let me do a kind of like how we do movie reviews. Let me do a real quick overview without any kind of spoilers or anything like that. On the whole, this series is really good.
Okay.
On the whole, now if you there's one really, really, really good one that I really enjoyed. It was my second.
I can't wait to figure out which one.
It was my second one in the series of reading.
And I have no idea what order you read them in either, because
I couldn't
there's
even
no
tell
real
you.
particular reading order to this. So
I was trying to. I was trying to go through the app. Yeah, I tried to do it the way the app did it, but I messed it up somehow. So
yeah, mine got kind of messed up too. I was trying to do the read next, and then of course, I'd put it down and then come back to it the next day, and I was like, wait a minute, I can't get back to
where was that? Right, yeah.
And I was
I was getting in there too, and so we were like, because it was like every time I went in, it says reread this issue. I'm like,
why are you rereading this?
Right, what?
At least right now.
Yeah. So I'll say that there was one or two that were just outstanding, but then on the other spectrum, there was one that I absolutely Steven skipped through it.
Oh, I can't wait to find out which one.
I just couldn't get into it, and I don't know if it was because it was the last book I read, so I don't know if it was just like I had already read the other ones. In comparison to speaking, I thought it was very inferior.
Okay.
So
cool.
So that's kind of the deal. I love the fact that we were talking about villains, and I guess some of the things behind the villains, kind of a thing, whether it be part of their story or where they're at now or where they're transitioning or something like that. There was a couple of them I was a little confused because I guess I had not kept up with some of the characters and the events that have been happening.
Well, and I don't think any of these should be taken as current timeline DC. I think this is all outside the continuity. Of course, that's one of the beauties about the Killing Joke is because it's been debated for 2-3 decades now, whether that is main continuity or it's not, and just like it's debated at the end, does the Batman kill the Joker or does he not? Because it leaves off with the Batman laughing and then the panel goes to black and and he's got his hands around the Joker's neck and you don't know, you have no idea. So and that's one of the beautiful things about the Killing Joke. It was this open-ended, cliffhanger thing that, we've been debating years and years and years and years, and no one still really knows. So that some of these were really good. Some of them I just didn't feel lived up to the one bad day.
Yes, agreed.
Cool. Now we just got to find out which ones we liked.
Okay, let's go here. Let's go with our number one pick, or one of our favorites, or one or two. One of the ones we thought were good. What did we enjoy? So I'll give you the main one that I thought was my number one. Was that I thought overall story, presentation, and art kind of a thing. If I went with that, how the book was, because the way the book was done was striking as well. It was one. I'll be open with. I thought I want to buy this one. This is cool. This
that
is
one really got
Yep, it was the one with Ra's al Ghul.
Okay.
That was my number one pick.
I liked Ra's al Ghul. I thought that was a really good story. Yeah, I got notes on each one of them. So
okay, all right. So we'll talk about this one first. Okay, great.
Okay, so we'll start with Ra's al Ghul. My notes were: I thought it was an interesting issue. Ra's is such a great nemesis. I don't necessarily agree with his environmental motives, but I love the fact that he believes what he's doing is for the good of man.
Yes,
he's that type of villain that he actually thinks that he's the good guy and he's doing what's the right thing. That's what to me makes him a really interesting villain. And this book really went along with that theme and played that out really well. So I would put this on one of my tops for these books too. I wouldn't say it's necessarily number one.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it. And part of that's because I enjoy Ra's al Ghul. I think he's a fantastic Batman enemy. He's so different from most of them.
And such an intricate story, because not only that, but you got the whole point of, oh, wait, there's Talia. Oh, yeah, there's Damian. And how Damian is included in what,
yeah, and in this, he really projects onto Damian his philosophy as the Batman, and that the Batman doesn't kill. And Damian actually takes that on in the issue, which made it that much more interesting, actually. Because Damian's he doesn't always follow the Batman's, rules, we'll say.
And then, and it's really, it was just really well done. The presentation, the art I thought was great.
Yeah,
I really did. But the presentation of that art was really interesting, not only from the colored panels or the colored outline of the panels or whatever, but there was time and time again where, invisible panels showing things that are going on, and then you could pan out, and you could see the whole big picture of how the art was, how they did it. And I thought that was really good too, as well. So, so not just the art, but the way the art was presented was really good. Even the thought bubbles, because it started off with, you were hearing the voice as Ra's al Ghul is telling you. It's like he's talking to you. And I loved it where my favorite line was, here we don't want to draw attention to the detective, kind of a
Yes.
thing. And
Oh, I love how
like
Roz always refers to him as the detective.
yeah,
He never calls him Batman.
yeah.
He is the detective.
Yeah. So anyway, that one was my favorite. That one is the one I'll go back and read again and even contemplate it. This one would be really good to have in print form.
Okay, so that's your favorite.
Yes.
Which was your least favorite?
Clayface.
Yeah. I have to say. So wait a minute, real quick. Let me, because it won't take but a second.
Okay.
My notes on Clayface. Not my favorite. Decent story, but didn't really feel like I learned anything new about Clayface.
Yeah, I that was the one I Steven skipped through because I'm like, I was just not connecting with it, and I wasn't connecting with it as a story. I was like, I don't feel like we're really going anywhere, kind of a thing. It didn't get me in. Even the what, is this meaningless or what's happening here? And there were some other panels. I was like, well, that looks interesting, but nah, I don't care. It was just. It wasn't a good one. It really wasn't.
The best thing about the story was the fact that the play or movie, I guess it was, the movie that he was getting into, which he, stole somebody's body in order to get the lead part of that.
Right.
Which was kind of interesting. I like that aspect of the story. But the most interesting thing was the movie was actually the Red Hood, which was the Joker Red Hood, which would tie into the killing joke, So that was the only part of the story I was like, oh, I like this. And I was like, oh, okay, but that's over now. So
right.
And yeah, I agree. I just, it was just, it wasn't that great. Yeah. And I didn't feel it tied with the theme at all.
I don't think no. And I'm like, where in the world's Batman in this? Where's the world of Batman in this? Where's the world? I was just like, oh, great. We've only got him for 2 pages.
It was kind of just a Clayface story. That's all it was.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So that one, I would, that was my least favorite. So we totally agree on the least favorite.
Yeah.
Now, I would say my number one out of them would have been Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze. Now,
Mr. Freeze story-wise was really good. There was one part, but yeah, go ahead, finish your thing. Sorry.
Well, okay, I am a huge fan of Sub-Zero. I thought that was a fantastic way to bring back the Mr. Freeze character, give him a new meaning in the Batman universe. And I've always loved that story. And I felt that this was almost a retelling of that slightly, but it gave you a little more perspective on his and Nora Freeze's relationship that you didn't really see in Sub-Zero. And I liked it because it made him a little more diabolical.
Yeah.
Because with Sub-Zero, you almost get the feeling, and the start of this, you even get the feeling, well, he's not really a bad guy. He's more misunderstood. He doesn't really mean to be bad. It's just he's trying to save. He
went through a traumatic event,
right? But with this, we find out he's actually jealous of his wife, and he's actually happy that she's in the state that she is, and he really has no intentions of bringing her back. And I was like, oh, that just adds a whole new element to Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, their take on that was interesting. I will say this. Thanks for saying about Sub-Zero. The animated, I just love it. That voice is my Sub-Zero, if that makes sense. So when I'm reading Sub-Zero, that's the voice I hear.
It's like when you read Batman, you hear Kevin Conroy's voice in your ear.
Right.
Or you read the Joker, you hear Mark Hamill, his Joker. So I get it. Yeah.
The Batman animated series, but you bring in, in the one anime, the Sub-Zero, that's the voice of Victor Freeze for me. I mean, I don't know who the actor is, but so I'm listening to all this, and I'm listening to. Let me rephrase that. In my theater, in my mind, I'm listening to Victor Fries talk, but I'm like, it's that Victor Fries, but I'm reading on the page a different Victor Fries than I had connected him with. And it was really interesting dynamic. I was like, oh, this is a different kind of Mr. Freeze. He's dark, more dark. I mean,
Yeah.
diabolical is a good term. I like your term on that one. So it was a good episode, or excuse me, a good issue. The some of the art in it, I wasn't real happy about.
Yeah,
I just like
the art wasn't in that one. I agree.
But it was a good story. I will give you that. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of where the story actually makes up for the lack of art, because there are a couple elements to a comic book. You need good art. I would prefer exceptional art, but you also need a great story, because you can have the best art in the world, but if you don't have a good story, well, okay, well, I'm just looking at pretty pictures then. You know what I mean? But if you have a great story and mediocre art, it'll still work. Now, you can go terrible art, and it's gonna hurt it, But I think you can go with mediocre art and still get away with it. And I feel this is a good example of that.
Okay. Yeah. We'll go with
All
that.
right.
Just here. Okay, so here real quick, let's talk about the stories.
Sure.
The one thing I liked about Ra's al Ghul was the whole thing of his everything I do, like you said, everything I do, I do it for our future, kind of a thing. I do it to better mankind or whatever. And I liked it because all of a sudden there's this, in the story, there's attempted assassinations or there are assassinations, and you find out he has a list of 30 people that he's trying to assassinate, and Batman's trying to stop him. And that was good, but it was Ra's kind of telling the story, which I thought was really good. Now in Clayface, I really couldn't follow Clayface for any kind of real plot.
Yeah,
from me,
I didn't care for the Clayface one.
But in the one, what's the best way to say how the plot was for this one? Your favorite one, the
Mr. Freeze one.
The Mr. Freeze one is it retold Victor and Nora's story. I almost said Flora. I'm like, why did I say Flora? But anyway, so it's really what's fun about it is it goes into more detail, as you said, about their relationship that we didn't get from any other ones.
Right.
And then, not only that, but someone's got something that they have, or they're trying to get his help, Victor's help. So he's like, hey, we think we found a cure for her, so you can get her out of the cryogenic or whatever and stuff, and then gets him its own lab. And I'm like, oh, this is really cool. The next thing you know, he's blowing up the lab, or it's like, wait a minute, what's Freeze doing?
Right.
And that's where I think for me it took that turn of, wait a minute,
there's something more going on to their
there is something more, and it's really good. So I want to make sure we're talking about these stories, and I want to make sure we're talking about the stories. And
that's when we find out that she's spending a lot of time hanging out with their friends, and he's just holing himself into his work, and he doesn't think that she should be going out with friends, and he just keeps getting more and more jealous as she goes along. So then she gets sick with the cancer, and of course he's feeling for his wife. I feel those feelings are all real, that kind of thing. Genuine, I should say. And then when she dies, he naturally wants to save her, but at the same time, he kind of likes the idea of having her frozen because he knows he has her with him all the time. So it's a little sick and demented, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
right.
I don't know. I like Mr. Freeze this way. It just adds this element to him that I think makes the character much more better.
Oh, much more better. Cheers.
Cheers.
Excuse me. I will say this. each one of these stories has like a little different take on the villain that is a little different than, I think, as you said, out of continuity. And so it was interesting. Yeah, I thought this Freeze was a darker Mr. Freeze than
Agreed.
we've had. So yeah.
So what I want to know, what did you think about the Riddler?
The Riddler was the first one that I read.
Me too.
And the one that I thought was the most connected to Killing Joke.
Ah, okay. All right.
And
why did you think that?
At the very, very end, it has the same kind of fade out ending that you don't know what happens, kind of a thing. You're like,
we weren't left questioning whether the Batman kills the Riddler or anything. I didn't get that feeling.
I did.
Really?
Yeah. So
really did.
So, yeah.
Maybe
so
I need to reread this one then.
Because I read it. I was intrigued by this book when the first one I was like, oh, this is going to be an interesting series. Which one? And then the next one I read was Ra's al Ghul. I'm like, this is great, And then it was like,
then you get Clayface, and you're like, oh, well, it just slipped.
Right. So the one thing about this episode, the Riddler episode, is you're really getting the backstory to the Riddler. You're getting family situation. You're getting it's just a really interesting of how smart he really, really is. I think for me, it did reemphasize that not only his past, but how smart he is, why he is driven as he is, and then the other side of it is how he just does an incredible mastermind on really, I don't want to say blackmailing Batman, but really blackmailing Batman, saying, you're not going to touch me, and here's why. And it was just the Riddler, the whole part of the story of the Riddler who can manipulate people from a psychological viewpoint to really make them, do things. Like there was a whole sequence where I thought James Gordon got it. I really did. The way they told the story about how all the guards started killing each other because the Riddler was like, hey, I know every single one of you and your family and blah, blah, blah. And,
well, he starts naming them and naming out their children and everything. So
then they're like, yeah, he's not getting, they were like, someone's going to fire the gun first. So they all kill each other. I mean, it was just, oh my goodness. But that leads into, he pretty much says, however, it was just amazing in the story, and it's worth reading on how he was able to do all these different chain of events with everyone to return, to come back and be in power, and Batman doesn't do anything about it. And then all these things started happening without Batman stopping the Riddler, and then here comes Batman. I mean, there's almost like there was a breaking point, and I thought this makes you ask the question, what is your breaking point?
But the thing is, Batman actually let him walk right out of Gotham, out of Arkham. He just let him walk out of Arkham. And I watched the guy review it, and this guy hated it. He was so mad at this issue because he's like, this is not the Riddler, and you just made the Riddler like he is the Batman's greatest enemy. He's even more maniacal than the Joker and all this stuff. And I mean, I guess there's some truth to that critique, but I got this feeling that part of the Riddler in this issue, he did actually know most of those things. But I think he convinced people to think that he knew more than he really did, which makes him pretty terrifying,
Right.
But to me, the bigger question was, did he really know as much as he thought he knew? I think he did enough homework to get himself through certain things and then get himself to a point where people are terrified of him, but he really doesn't know near as much as as they think he does. That's where I thought it was. And to me, it was, we leave off where Batman is still plotting on how to overtake the Riddler with the assumption that he actually knows all this stuff.
Mhm.
That's, to me, was the bigger question. I did not get the feeling at all that whether he killed or did not kill the Riddler on this one. I didn't. To me, I didn't feel that. But I think it's interesting that you got that out of the.
I did, because it was that whole thing of there was nothing he could do, but yet people were dying, and so you have to come to grips, and would that cause you to break and say, no more to one of my greatest rules, for the Batman? It was, I won't take a life. And you just felt the tension of what Batman could or couldn't do. And that's since it panned off similarly to Killing Joke.
Okay. Interesting.
And so that's why I thought, okay, I wonder if this is supposed to ask, get you to do the same questioning. Did he kill him or not? So
nice. Okay. Well, I think we both enjoyed that one. Okay.
I did enjoy it. It was my second favorite, actually.
Cool.
Because I like the portrayal of Enigma being smarter. It wasn't just about riddles.
Wait a minute. So you're condoning Batman killing the Riddler? Am I hearing that right?
Am I condoning it? No. Do I think that's what's happened? Yes.
It kind of sounded to me like you're condoning it. And if that's the case, I don't want to hear any more complaints about the 89 Batman. 89 or 92 Batman Returns.
Right. Everybody,
that's all I ever hear. Michael Keaton Batman killed people.
That's right. Yeah, we've talked about that on the show before, everybody. But yeah. I'm just saying, based upon this story, that was part of the drivers. One of the main themes was the pushing of this code that Batman has.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he maintains that code because he doesn't want anyone else to get killed, because he gets blackmailed that the Riddler's going to kill everybody. And it's just really
and that's why I like the Ra's al Ghul one so much, is because that Damian actually took on his code of conduct, where in the past Damian would not have embraced that, being the fact that Damian, part of his life was raised by both Talia and Ra's al Ghul,
as an assassin,
right, as this killer instinct inside of him, and Batman or Bruce are always trying to pull that out of him. So that was one of the things I thought was really good about the Ra's al Ghul issue, So okay, so
those are the big ones. Those were the big two for me. So
okay, sounds good. Two-Face. I like the Two-Face issue. I mean, it wasn't my favorite. I thought it was a pretty good story. We get the story of him Two-Face Harvey Dent actually wanting revenge on his father, which I'd never really known anything about Harvey Dent's father. So that was kind of interesting learning that story.
Yes.
And it was also interesting seeing the side of Batman, who was trying to have grace for someone he still had considered a good friend.
Yeah.
Wanting to have that grace for him, because you don't really see that in Batman. And the Mr. Freeze was interesting in that same aspect, because in that one you have Robin, and I believe it's the Dick Grayson Robin, and he's just like, well, do you not believe any of these criminals can be reformed? And Batman's like, no, not one. And then he's like, well, maybe one, maybe Victor Freeze, So, and I think he kind of looks at Two-Face the same way. Maybe there's this possibility that Harvey could be reformed, and he could be that good, upstanding, guy that he once was. But then we go through this, and Harvey kills his father, and I'd say no, he's still the same guy.
Right.
So I thought it was an interesting story.
It was.
Again, don't know if it really fit the theme that well.
The Harvey Dent one?
Yeah.
I mean, the Two-Face one? Well, that was the whole point. That was the whole theme. Is he Harvey Dent, or is he Two-Face? And
But does
then
it fit the one bad day theme though?
as far as you're focusing on a villain who had a bad day, I don't know. No.
Yeah, see, that's what
They make it seem like one bad day, but that was a plan day for. I mean, it was all a mastermind plan day that Two-Face did.
Yeah.
So that really wasn't a bad day. So no, I don't think. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think that one fit.
In my
as well.
opinion, Harvey Dent's one bad day is the day in court when the mob boss throws the
the acid and stuff.
That's his one bad day.
Right.
One
And
bad
it becomes his dad's one bad day, I guess.
Well, maybe. I don't know. It definitely was his dad's bad day. That's for sure. Although I'm reading through it, and his dad's supposed to be like 90 years old.
88.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right, 88, because it went with the dual number theme. But yeah, still 88, and I'm like, he doesn't look 88 in the artwork.
Right. And then I was thinking,
it was just kind of bugging me. I'm like,
if his dad was 88 though, wouldn't that, let's say he was 30 when he had his son, that means Dent is probably older than we think, I mean, that's,
yeah, I don't know. Men can have children much older, still. So it could be those situations, Anyway, going on. Let's move on to Bane. How'd you like the Bane issue?
That was the one that I referenced at the beginning of our show that I was like, I think there's some things about this character I've totally missed. I don't remember these kinds of things happening.
Okay, like what? Like what?
Well, the whole concept that, he was off Venom, that Bane was off Venom.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, Grudge, who the heck is Grudge? Where'd he come from? And, I was like, that's interesting. It was okay. I do enjoy Bane, the character. I knew Bane was going to be significant when we had the one shot. And it was there was the one shot of where they introduced Bane. I used to have that comic actually because I had gotten it, and it was just before Nightfall the series came out, a couple of months before Nightfall began. And okay, and they introduced this character, and I was like, ooh, and so having read that one shot with Bane and introducing Bane, it was so nice to see the parallels of this story referencing some of those moments in the one shot. And I was like, that was nice. That was okay. And
it also referenced the Dark Knight, Tales of the Dark Knight series, because in the Tales of the Dark Knight series, we actually get the story of Batman, of Bruce Wayne using Venom.
Yes.
He got hooked on Venom for a while too, according to
beat it. Yeah.
Right. So I liked this because I thought it was interesting that you had both Bane and Batman, who now Bane has beat Venom and Batman has previously beat Venom, and they are teaming up to take out people who are now producing Venom again, which Bane had thought he had gotten rid of all the Venom. And so now he and Batman team up to take them out. I thought it was pretty ingenious, actually. I really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was a good issue. I was just lost on the changes in the character, like Grudge. I was like, Grudge, and I don't even know if I really liked Grudge, even though I knew the concept behind Grudge, and I could accept that. But even what they did with the doctor who created Venom, even, I was like, man, he looks Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde-ish all rolled into one, the half abomination of, well, that's Marvel, excuse me, but Marvel Abomination character. So
I crossed the streams.
Right. Whoopsie. So yeah, it was but I did enjoy the story. That one's on the enjoy side, yes.
Nice. I enjoyed it too. I thought it was a good one. I mean, not the best, but it was an enjoyable story. I could get into that one.
Yes.
All right. So Penguin. What did you think about the Penguin?
I didn't like the Penguin.
Really?
I didn't. Only from the aspect of I mean, it was a good story of him coming back and how he used people or whatever, but I still don't know if you're now asking the question of did it fit into one bad day? I don't know unless it was bad day in the past, which it sounds like it was, and that's where they did the story. But it just seemed it moved again. Like Clayface was like, well, where's Batman in this? Now, when he does pop in for part of it, you're like, okay, that was interesting what they did there. I like that. But beyond that, I was like, but it, it's a Penguin comic. Like the Clayface was more of a Clayface comic there or something. So I struggled with it a little bit. I was like, very much okay, move it along. And then when it started moving along, it was good.
So I actually really like this issue.
Okay.
I thought it was way better than the Clayface issue. I gotta say,
yes.
I think the Clayface issue is the worst of them all.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I agree with you in the fact that it doesn't fit the one bad day theme.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'll get more into that when we finish up Catwoman though.
Right.
But I thought the story was really good. I thought I learned new things about the Penguin that I didn't know before, and I just felt it made him a little more interesting, and then I did like where the Batman pops in, and I thought that was pretty fun. I agree, Batman wasn't in the story enough, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting enough as a Penguin solo story that I thought it was enjoyable. Again, not the best in the series, but I think it was an enjoyable issue.
Mm-hmm. I will say this: my favorite part in that was, spoiler alert, everybody, but when he's doing the big face-off with the bad guy, or in the end, the Umbrella Man.
Yes.
When he's doing that face-off, I enjoyed where, I mean, the Umbrella Man just beats him, and then next thing you know, here's Penguin getting back up. And he's like, and he says, that's your problem for the Umbrella Man. You don't know how to take it, stand back up or something to that effect. And I was like, okay,
right.
that's cool. And then how he attacks and finish off. I mean, he's like,
it was
whoa.
almost like the Umbrella Man was turning him back into the Penguin. That's the way I took that. It's like, with each hit, you're just making him more and more into who he used to be. And you don't even realize what you're doing. So maybe in that aspect, that's where it's one bad day. Maybe that is the
Umbrella Man's bad day. Right.
Because I'd say it was a bad day for him.
Yeah. So it was a good story. It was a good character development. I was like, wow, when did this happen? Or, I was like,
see, I think you got to get that out of your head. When did
I'm so used to it? Yeah.
Right. But see, I think that's a discussion we need to have actually.
Oh gosh, everybody, did you hear that? It's the dreaded. We need to have a discussion. I'm like, no.
We need to have an intervention.
Right.
No,
right.
But I think as comic book fans, we need to get out of this head that everything has to fit perfectly into continuity. It's not always a puzzle. You know what I mean?
Yes, I see where you're going with that. I think I just want to add a nuance to that. Where I was coming from was, continuity. I wasn't worried about these being in continuity. What my concern was that I was like, on me, I'm like, man, I haven't kept up to see where these characters are coming from, or that, from that situation. So it wasn't like it needed to stick to the continuity. It's like, oh, things have happened that I haven't kept up with. If that makes sense.
I took it from, I'm just focusing on the character in the moment. I'm not worried I'm not worried about past and what has happened to lead up to this. But again, I think that was the idea of the Killing Joke too, because the Killing Joke, there was always this question, this looming question: is this in DC continuity or is it not? And I feel that each one of these, in its own way, does fit that portion of the theme. Maybe not necessarily the quote unquote one bad day theme, but the idea of, wait a minute, does this actually fit in the continuity or not? So those things I think could be more debatable than whether or not it fits the one bad day theme. Maybe that's what they actually mean.
Maybe, and if it's in there that it's on the borderline of is it or not, it is a good Killing Joke was just a great story to do that with, and how they did that story as being. And I love Elseworld stories. I mean, one of my favorites is Gotham by Gaslight. Kind of a thing. I'm okay with Elseworld stories, and I think it was. I'll agree with you that may be where these are. Is it continuity or not?
Right.
But they're still good. Some of these are really good stories.
If you look at the Killing Joke, they even ended the Batgirl line right before the Killing Joke came out. So the Batgirl character actually ended, and then the Killing Joke comes out, and then the Joker paralyzes her, and then going forward from that point, Barbara Gordon is in a wheelchair. So that's where people go, well, wait a minute, is it continuity or not? Because then you have the question, did the Batman kill Joker? But yet the Joker's still alive within the main continuity. So those fans who are like, no, I believe he killed the Joker. But then we have last year the three Jokers come out, and we find out there's actually three Jokers. So I mean, it's so mind-boggling. It's like, wait a minute, is it? Isn't it? No, what? So that's kind of where I took these. It's like, okay, are these continuity or not? But then at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? If it's a good story, I don't care whether it's continuity. I just want a good story. That's all.
Yeah. All right. What else have we not covered? So we've got a
Catwoman's the last one we have, and
Catwoman. I want to hear your opinion on Catwoman.
I really enjoyed the Catwoman one. I am a fan of the Catwoman. I think she's a fantastic character. To me, Selena Kyle is truly Bruce Wayne's Lois Lane. She is, his Lois Lane, but they have such a different relationship than what Clark and Lois do. And I felt this comic really, really
I agree.
Shined on their relationship and the craziness that their relationship is. I love that. I love that aspect of it. I enjoyed that we got introduced to a new character that outsmarted Catwoman, because she's known as like the greatest cat burglar in the DC universe, and this woman outsmarts her, and I found that fascinating. And then at the end, you're going, well, wait a minute, is she going to be kind of a nemesis to Catwoman, or is she actually going to be somewhat of a mentor to Catwoman? I thought that was where the question was in this one. Not so much the one bad day, but just you have no idea who this woman is and who she's going to become in the future. And I thought that was interesting. I really liked it.
Yep. I'm right there with you on this one. Great story about the dynamics of the relationship between Batman and Catwoman, Bruce Wayne, Selena Kyle. And then this new character, I was like, this woman who, she bumps into only to find out, and then she's, that, wait a minute, maybe she was behind this heist,
right,
this trickery, and then starts following her and realizes this old lady's got skills, and then confronts, I love it where Batman is right there. He's like, yeah, hold on. He's like, all right, I'll let you go.
Right. Yeah. So Selena gets outsmarted by her, and she actually steals the brooch. So Selena, as a kid, her mom has this family heirloom. Okay, it's this specially made brooch with some kind of bird and all these jewels in it and all this stuff. And she has no idea the value of it, and she takes it to a pawn shop in Gotham and sells it for $200 just to get groceries for her and her daughters. Well, years go by, and Selena is now Catwoman, and there's a big whoop-de-doo going in Gotham for, a jewelry thing. And she shows up there and she finds the brooch there. And it's the brooch that her mom pawned off.
Mhm.
So she's like, I got to get that back. I mean, we didn't know it was that valuable and everything. And she thinks that she steals it. And then when she gets home, she realizes that it's not the real brooch, that it's a fake. But she got faked out by the woman who she met before. I mean, it's a mind trip. It really is.
Yep.
And then you come to find out that it always was a fake from day one. When her mom had it, it was a fake. It was never
made by that
and
lady.
made by that woman.
It's like,
So, I mean, it went all the
what?
way back to there. It was just
Yeah.
a mind-blowing story. I
Right.
loved it. I thought it was
Yeah.
fantastic. It was
it was good how it tied those ends together. And whoever this new villain is, I'm very intrigued. It has me very intrigued.
Yeah. Like I said, at the end, you don't know whether she's going to be a nemesis to Catwoman or whether she's going to be a mentor.
Mhm.
Or
Or
a partner
both.
for that matter.
We'll have both, kind of like the whole
Well, yeah, kind of.
yeah, the whole thing with, well, even in Nightfall, there was the whole thing with Lady Shiva that Bruce Wayne was coming back or building back, and Shiva was like training him to help him get back, but she was always pushing him to break his code, but he never would, take a life. But anyway, but here's someone who's kind of a mentor villain relationship, and I think that's what they could do with this character, because you think the lady's really old, but she's stronger than what she is, and then you're like, I mean, there's still more allusion to that. I'm looking forward to getting more info on this character.
Yeah, she is the one that I walked away from this going, yeah, I kind of want to know more about this character, which that is the sign of a good story right there.
Yeah.
If you're walking away going, yeah, I want to know more about that person.
Mhm.
And you got a good story there. You did a
agree.
good job. So I would, again, it's not my number one, but it is close. It is really close.
Mhm.
And I think that's just because, one, it's Catwoman, and it does play on the relationship between Selena and Bruce. And I really like that, we get that whole, I love you, I don't love you kind of thing, that weird push pull, that they have.
Mhm.
And I absolutely love that. And I really, really think that next to Clark and Lois, they're probably the best couple in the DC universe. So
yep,
that's where I fall with that. Now, I do want to ask you one question.
Sure.
I came out of this obviously enjoying several of these issues, but my overall take was, to me, none of them really, really, really fit the one bad day theme. I just didn't feel that I walked away with another Killing Joke, which is, it's almost impossible. The Killing Joke,
right?
It's probably the greatest Batman story ever told, So that is a high bar for you to get over. But I don't know. I as an overall thing, I don't think I would. I hope Warner Brothers isn't listening to this or DC Comics. I would not recommend going out and buying the $100 set with all the books in a nice box and everything.
Agreed.
I don't think it's worth that. I do think it's worth, if you can get a decent deal on the single issues, go for it. Or if you've got the DC Infinite app, definitely go on and read the digitals. It's definitely worth a read on that. And then, some of the highlighted ones, Mr. Freeze, I think is worth buying. Ra's al Ghul is worth buying. The Riddler is worth buying, and definitely Catwoman is worth buying. Those are probably the ones I would recommend buying if you're going to buy them. But I don't know. I just can't recommend buying the entire set, the $100+ set.
Agreed.
What is your thought on that?
I would totally agree with you. There are, I told you at the beginning, Ra's al Ghul, that one I'm contemplating. Is it worth the cost of having that? Gosh, you could almost pay for. You could get a whole years of Disney or DC Infinity for.
Well, yeah, you
the
could.
whole time, for the cost, and you'd be much better served that way. But I wouldn't buy it all.
And then you could read.
I totally agree.
Then you could read The Killing Joke and The Three Jokers too.
That's correct. That is true.
Those are definitely worth the money. I highly recommend those.
Right on. So yeah. So
I
agree with you. I agree with you on the whole thing. There were some winners, there were some good ones, and then there were just some duds for me, I think, in those.
Yeah, I agree. There were a few duds, and then some that I liked, I enjoyed, and then there were, probably those 4 that I really enjoyed.
Which one was your number one?
Mr. Freeze was my number one.
Mr. Freeze, that's right. Mr. Freeze, yeah.
But I gotta say, Catwoman comes close. She comes really.
It was a good one.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Yes.
But I don't know. I just think the Mr. Freeze story is, to me, that's probably the best one of them all.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because I really, really like Sub-Zero. I think that's a fantastic animated film. And it was a great retelling of Mr. Freeze. And then this just added to the story. It was like, oh, wow. This added a new element that I never would have thought of. And yeah, I found it interesting. I really liked it. So.
Yep.
All right, cool.
I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we read this.
It
was a lot to read because each one is 70 pages, Yeah. So
I would read one like each day. 1 or 2 each day is what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although Riddler I'd read 2 weeks ago. I read that one like 2 weeks ago, and then we did our episode last week, and I kind of took that week off of reading, or at least that.
Yeah.
And then this week I was like, oh crap, I got to read these. So I would do like 2 issues a day is what I would do. So
yeah.
It worked out.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, cool beans. Well, hey everybody. Anything else? Sorry, I'm getting ready to roll into our normal little commercial time.
No, that's all I got. That's all I got. So you go for it.
Right on. Well, hey everybody. One of the things that we've enjoyed and people have asked us in the past about podcasting and stuff, and biggest question is which service do we use? And we use Podbean for our wonderful hosting service for our audio podcast that goes out for our RSS feed. And if you're curious about it and what that is, it's www.podbean.com. Go /communicate. And that is our affiliate link. And when you sign up, it does help the show if you decide you want to do that. They have a free plan that you can just try it out and see if you like it, if you want to do this whole podcasting thing. And then they also have a paid plan, and it's only $108 a year, which is about $9 a month to host. And what we like about Podbean is you can go unlimited in your hours. All these other services, you only get so many hours. And but with Podbean, under their paid plan, you actually have unlimited episodes that you can do, unlimited lengths. And they even have a live feature.
That's new, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's new. Yeah. That's something I just saw.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So if you want to check that out, or if you're thinking about signing up, please use our link, www.podbean.com/communicate. And we've had really actually good luck. It's been fun looking at the analytics and stuff that's in that too. So, and it gives you all the instructions on how to get your podcast on all the other platforms. It actually gives you links to help you do that. And you can keep track of your links there within Podbean itself, which is actually another nice feature.
Podbean has been very good to us.
Yep.
All right. If you've gotten this far, please make sure and like and subscribe to us on both Facebook and here on YouTube. Make sure that you give the bell a little tickle so that you get notifications every time we go live. We do go live every Saturday except for next Saturday.
Right. Next Saturday we're taking a break.
every Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. You do the math for the rest. Yes, next week we will be taking a break. Steven is heading to Cali, right?
That's right, California.
He's heading to
For a
Cali,
wedding.
right, for a wedding. I'm going camping again.
Woo!
Taking the R-Pod out and going to have a nice time camping. I'm looking forward to that. So we will take next week off, and then we'll be back the following week and start our coverage of Ahsoka. Star Wars Ahsoka.
That's going to be great.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. All right.
Okay.
I think that's all I got.
All
so
right.
with that said, over and out, and see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,
May the force be with you.